All right. My name is Chris Campbell. I'm a practicing CPA and I work with small business individuals to help them pay the least amount of taxes possible while keeping them out of jail. Today, I wanted to touch on some good news that came from the IRS that I recently learned about. Figured I'd share it. So, I had done a video at the beginning of the year, beginning this year, or maybe around this time last year, and there was a big to do about it in the news about the tax reporting that payment processors would have to use. So I'm talking about your PayPals, your Venmo. Very popular amongst folks to transfer money between people. Some people use it for personal purposes. Some people use it for business purposes. But earlier this year or late last year, the IRS had said that they were going to put a $600 threshold for reporting. They were requiring all of these payment processors to report to them anyone that received $600 or more over the course of the year. And that was going to start effective tax year 2023, which we're in now, with the end of the year around the corner. At the time that I'm filming this, come January, a number of people were going to receive a form called a 1099-K from said payment processor. It's a form that lets the IRS know how much money you receive through that platform over the course of the calendar year. So that requirement was going to start next year. And when you receive these forms, it's essentially the IRS is now and you looking to say, okay, we know that you received this money. But when you are filing your taxes, they want to make sure that you account for that money on your tax return. So that's the whole purpose of that form. So the good news here is that the IRS has pushed this requirement back. So they no longer have to do it for 2023. At least as they're saying now, they're going to look to push it back a year, but I think they're going to get rid of it altogether because it had the potential of creating a number of problems, which I'll get into in a second. But they did decide it was starting next year for 24. So we don't have to worry about it for 23, but for 24, they're going to raise that threshold to $5,000. So instead of that $600 threshold starting next year, it'll be $5,000. So it looked like everything will still operate as it is now, which I think now the threshold is if you receive $20,000 or 200 transactions. So that's the threshold now. So looks like they're going to stick to that for 2023. For 24, it's going to go up to 5,000. But that should give folks a little more leeway because the problem with that $600 threshold, there's just a number of scenarios that can create a nightmare for a number of people on their return. For example, you could use Zelle or Venmo to split costs, to go out with your friends and you're splitting a meal. So if you do that a number of times over the course of the year, $600 is pretty easy to get to. I'm just thinking from a personal experience. I went out with a group of friends and the bill came to over $1,000. So we wound up sending a buddy of ours $1,000. Now, under the proposed rule, he would have had to receive the 1099 for something that wasn't a business activity at all. So now the IRS may be looking for some sort of reporting on his tax return as far as what happened with this $1,000 dinner that was simply just him receiving money that he had paid out front for his friends. I think cooler heads have prevailed here. And I think after the IRS issued it, I think those type of issues were raised. So I think that's why that they're pushing this back to notes and seeing that this could turn out to be pretty unreasonable. Another scenario that I've seen is you sell something occasionally and you sell it for a loss. Actually, this was something we had an old piano that we sold to a friend. We didn't make any money on the transaction, but we received a Venmo. In instances like that, I know a number of folks who might sell old clothes. So you don't necessarily sell it for a profit, but you use these platforms to get paid. And now they get reported. You don't owe any taxes on it, but now you have to account for it to let the IRS know on your taxes that you didn't make any money on this. And at $600, that's a whole lot of people and a whole lot of explaining to do and a whole lot of administrative stuff that just create really big headaches at that threshold. So it looks like this 5,000 that's coming up starting next year is going to be a bit more reasonable. But right now, we can all rejoice that $600 threshold appears to be off the table for the moment. So that's a good thing. Yeah, so that's all for now. If you have any more questions about this topic or any other accounting tax related question, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help. All right. So that's all for now, and I'll talk to you in the next one.